Hello class, this is the first video covering section 2.2. I think in the last video, or last section, we really dealt with linear functions and linear equations. And now we're going to just explore possible nonlinear equations. And we're going to solve them using tables and graphs. And then we're also going to solve linear equations with parentheses. So before we do that, we should just take a look at the definitions and key concepts. For example, I should be able to ask you, based on what an equation looks like, is it linear, is it quadratic, cubic, rational, or radical? Okay, so these are the, I guess, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 types of equations that you might be responsible for in this class. Right? Again, radical, rational, cubic, quadratic, and linear. Right? And the difference between all these, linear equation would just have an x raised to the first power. So you wouldn't see like an x squared or an x cubed or an x raised to the fifth power. My equation, something like this, y equals mx plus b. You notice the x is not raised to any power. That's linear. Quadratic is when you have the highest power is the 2, or x squared, x to the second power, or a degree of 2. So if you look at these equations here, ax squared plus bx, x to the second is the greatest power, right? Or y equals 2x squared plus 5x. The x is raised to the second power, so it's called quadratic. If it's raised to the third power, we call it a cubic, right? So the degree here is a 3. Even though there's an x squared in this equation, the highest power is a 3, so we call it a cubic. A rational equation would have a variable on the bottom, right? So the x raised to any power would be on the bottom, right? Actually, any power except 0, right? So x to the 1, x to the 2, x to the 3. If it's on the bottom, it's a rational equation. And then radical would have a radical sign somewhere in it, right? The variable would be under the radical sign. So the first thing you're going to be asked to do is identify the type of equations for questions 1 through 6. So maybe you want to pause the video and then I'll type in the answers for these 6 problems, okay? So try to see, is this a linear equation, a radical equation, a quadratic, right? Your notes are up here that can help you determine what type of equations these are. Okay, so I took the liberty to fill in these answers, right? A rational equation has a variable raised to a power on the denominator. A radical equation has a radical sign in it. Cubic, the greatest degree is 3, or the degree of the equation is 3, so this is x to the third. Linear appears twice, right? Think of y equals mx plus b. The x is not raised to a power that's greater than 1. And even number 4 is linear. Even though there's a value on the bottom, the 3 is not a variable, right? If I had an x squared on the bottom, then this would be rational. But there is no variable on the bottom, or the denominator. So this is still linear, because the highest power is 1. The degree is 1. And then quadratic has a degree of 2, or x squared. Okay? So I hope that helps. Let's keep moving. So next, I'd like to think about solving linear equations numerically. Let's see here. So I'm going to make a little, there we go. So, you know, we could complete the table, right? They're asking us to complete the table and using it to solve the following equation. So what they're asking you to do is take the -2, put it into x here, and then write your answer over here. Then do the same for -1, and for 0, and for 1, and you're going to write your answers here, and then write the ordered pairs here. So what does that look like? If you do that, these will be the answers, right? So if I put in -2 here and here, I'll get 5. If I put in -1 here and here, I'll get 0. If I take 0 and put it in here and here, I'll get -3. And these are the ordered pairs, right? -2, comma 5, -1, comma 0, and so on. All right, so now you can actually use this table to solve different equations, right? So for example, if I say, solve this equation here, letter C, basically we know that the value for y is equal to 5. I need to find the value for x. So if I go down to 5, the answer is x equals -2. But 5 also appears down here. Let's see if I can move this up a little bit. 5 also appears down here. So it looks like I have two answers, right? When y is 5, my x would be -2 and -4. So the solution, I would write x equals -2 and x equals 4. So if I put in 4 or -2 here and here, I should get 5 as my answer. Okay, so let's take a look on the next page. I think there's some practice problems we can try. Let's take a look. Boom, here we go. And again, the answers are in the back of your book, but take a look. Here's a table. Solve question A, right? So really I'm asking you, what is the value of x when y is equal to 2? So I look for y equals 2, and it looks like the answer is 0, right? The answer would be x equals 0, right? So we used our table to come up with that answer. Look at letter B, right? What's the value of x when we get -12 for y? So it looks like the answer is x equals -2, right? That would be my answer, and I'll circle it. Now look at this. Letter C, it says, hint, you should have 3 answers. So what value of x will give me a y of 0? So you notice, and I'm going to change the color here for emphasis. You notice when y is 0, we have an answer of -1, +1, and 2. So the answer for letter 3 would be x equals -1, x equals 1, and x equals 2, right? So it looks like I have 3 answers. X equals -1, x equals +1, x equals 2. If I put those values in for x here, if I put those values in for x here, here, and here, I'll get a y that results in 0. Okay? Let's draw that arrow a little better. There we go. Okay? So I think I want to stop here, and I'll do another video to cover the next couple of pages. All right? Thank you for watching.